Hi there guys, in this video this is going to be a simple tutorial on making a part stand, drying stand for after painting. And you've probably seen some of these that have been popping up recently, and it's essentially just a cardboard box with a rack of corrugated cardboard that looks like this stuff, just sort of stacked up side by side. And for what they are, they're actually quite expensive from the sites that I've seen them on. Now, what I typically use myself is chunks of polystyrene like this one here, and essentially I just the toothpicks or pieces of sprue or whatever I use. I typically use toothpicks or chunks of sprue with the ends sort of sharpened to a point, and just jab them into the polystyrene. But as you can see, it does wear out. It starts to come apart after a little while, and you end up having to throw that and use another piece of styrene. And it's not particularly messy or anything, it's just that it does wear out. And I thought to myself, I quite like the idea of one of these, but I'm not going to pay, you know, whatever, £5 or whatever they're costing, when you can make one for practically free. And essentially the only item that you may need to buy if you don't have it, which most modelers do, is something like PVA glue. You could also use hot glue. If you've got a hot glue gun, you could use double-sided sticky tape or whatever. And in fact, this is not strictly absolutely essential anyway. It's just I'm going to use this just for a bit of extra security. So the first thing you need is a box, a thin cardboard box, and a model kit box is ideal. Now the odds are you've got one of those because you're building a model kit, so even if it's the first kit you've ever built, you've taken stuff out of the box, you've cleaned it up ready for painting, and you've got an empty box. So, and if it's this kind of size or like your Airfix starter kit size, it's ideal. If it's a huge one, then obviously it might not be ideal, but you know, it's a good starting point. If you don't have a box handy, you can shape yourself one out of something like a cereal box quite easily. The next thing you'll need, also free, is some cardboard, but you'll need some with thick corrugations like this one here. But what you need to do is just go to a supermarket and ask them if they've got some boxes they're throwing out. They always have, because they all get packed down and thrown away and sent off for recycling, and they're always quite happy to give you boxes. So pick yourself up a box like this one, but make sure it's got thick corrugations like this, which are wide enough to pop your bits of sprue, your bamboo sticks or your cocktail sticks, or your bits of plastic or your wire clips or whatever you clip your parts to into. And the next thing I'm going to do is checking the depth of the box. Oh, throwing parts about there. I'm making this incidentally because I need to order some paint for little Nelly, which I'm going to be waiting on. So this is a little project in the meantime. But using this, check the depth, I'm going to need to pack the bottom of this box about so much, which is equivalent to about 3 sheets of card. You don't have to be too precise, but just to make sure that you've got enough room to stick this in, and leave enough room to grip the stick and enough room to keep the part upright and clear from there. So say measurements don't have to be precise, but I'll use these because these are a little short anyway from the end flaps, and they'll just pack the bottom out like so. So pop those to one side, and the next thing you need to do is, using the box, just make a mark slightly shorter than the box. That'll do fine just there. And then taking a craft knife, just cut that off to size. And what we need to do is do this to a few pieces of cardboard, so we've got a good stack of cardboard, and then we'll cut the actual depth. What I've done here is I've just chopped everything into approximate lengths apart from these two, as you can see, which I'm going to do in a moment. And then when I slice these, I'll be able to get 2 or 3 out of each one of these, and then these will all stack together in such a manner that they will form, this will form the top where the cocktail sticks are going to sit. What I've done here, and what I will do with the others, is I've taken a straight edge. This is an aluminium meter rule. It just has to be a straight edge that you can guide your knife, your sharp knife along. Place that on there and just sliced along there, so I've got a nice clean edge with open corrugations. If the top edge of your cardboard isn't sort of squashed together like that and what have you, then you won't need to do that, but as it is on a few of these pieces, I'm just going to cut a nice clean edge. So the one thing we do need to check, we need to actually do a size check with, is the width of the box, preferably with a smaller and more easily manageable rule, which is just under 50 millimeters, and then minus the width of 3 sheets of card, which it's going to, the other sheets are going to sit on. Remember, this is packing it up so that the cocktail sticks don't disappear into there, which is about 8 millimeters. So we need to make the adjustments accordingly. So this was 50, did I say? About 49 millimeters. So we basically need to make this about 40 millimeters, just to give or take. As I say, it doesn't need to be absolutely 100% exact, but sort of close to that. So 40 millimeters. So just make a mark at one end and a mark at the other. And then using the straight edge again, let's put this over here. Using the straight edge again, hopefully this is showing, I'll have to check the video actually and make sure it is. We'll just place this on the marks, and taking the knife, just make a nice quick clean cut, like so, and this creates the first of the numerous strips that we're going to make to pack side by side into the box. After cutting all the strips to size, and you need a considerable amount of cardboard, as I've discovered, what I'm going to do now, this is not necessary strictly speaking, but what I'm going to do is glue them together, and this I'm just going to run a little bit of PVA on each one and stack them up and glue them together, just because there's a little bit of inconsistency in the height where they've been cut, so that as I glue them, the bottom edge will become the top where it's all flat. But as you can see here, all I'm doing is taking each strip in turn, applying a bead of glue close to the bottom. So this is going to be the bottom when it's flipped upside down, so that the top is all level. And then pressing them onto each other. Not too hard, because you don't want to squash the corrugations, because they're the holes that will hold your paint holding cocktail sticks or sprue or bamboo or whatever you happen to use. And you just keep repeating that until you've got a stack of them. You'll notice it's a bit uneven here, but that's not a problem, because when I cut the box, it's going to have some of these edges left in, which will hold this all in place. We've got all the pieces stuck together. That's still drying, but they're all stuck together, and as you can see, it gives a level side where it's been sat on the surface there. Next thing we need to do is prepare the box. If this is a lidded box, then obviously you're working with just the lid, but essentially what you're going to do is cut along the very top and very bottom and leave a little strip down each edge, which will help hold this in place, just in case, you know, it won't fall out. I'm just going to use a craft knife to do that, but you can do that with a pair of scissors as well. And what I'm going to do to make it a little easier for me is just score along the edges. There's this completed, and there's the box with the front or lid respectively cut out, and leaving a little bit on either edge there, just to make sure that this whole thing can't drop out of it. Obviously, if it's a box lid, you take it off, cut it, and then you just sit it back on. In this case, I'll need to slide the whole thing in, so I'll turn that upside down, and then turning this so that the flat side is facing downward, which will be upward of course when it's the right way up. Pop that in as best I can, and then I will take the 3 pieces of card that I'd roughly measured and slide those in at what is currently the top but it's going to be the bottom, which will push the whole thing up to the top and also provide the support at the bottom to make sure that the cocktail sticks don't fall all the way through. And then close up the edges like so, just making sure I don't push the supporting pieces in with it. There we go. That's it. And like so, flip it over, and there you have it. There's your parts paint dryer holder, and as you can see, you can take your painted pieces on the cocktail sticks and pop them in, and it should also hold bits of sprue. I've got a couple of sort of thick bits there, and you can kind of wiggle that in and it will hold it. I'll try and sort of use one side for the thicker bits so that I'm not distorting it, but as you can see, that's usable there. And the only sort of downside is if you're using a short cocktail stick like that one, then popping that in means it is going to sit down on there, so you need to be aware of that. And I typically only do things like that if I happen to have one that I've cut off to use for something else and it's sitting around there, so I'll just need to remind myself of that. But you can of course make this shallower at any point. You could make it half the depth, but that one, as I typically use cocktail sticks, that one should work quite well for me, I think. So there you go. Overall, I think I'm quite pleased with that. Something that they're not particularly expensive, I know, but I think there was something like a £5. I'll have to check, and I will put an example and price on for you to see. But essentially, this whole thing was free. If I did cost the glue, which I have anyway, because I use PVA for sticking clear parts, if I did happen to cost that, I reckon I probably used 1 or 2 pence worth out of a pound's worth of PVA. That's from Pound Shop PVA, so you know, next to nothing. Model boxes you have when you take your kit out to build. The boxes with the corrugations you can get from the supermarket for nothing. And I can now throw away the old polystyrene that I used to use, and that should last a good long while. So there you go, your own free, easy to make in whatever size you want, model paint dryer holder. And thank you for watching.